Captain Lee Taemin stared at the display screen in front of him. The numbers did not look good. His ship, the Soul's Pride, was running low on fuel. The life support systems were making strange noises again. Engineer Kim Do-hyun had fixed them 3 times this week, but they kept breaking down. "Captain," said Dr. Park So-young from her station near the back of the bridge, "I'm getting some unusual readings on the long-range sensors." Taemin turned his chair around to face her. So-young was the ship's science officer and the smartest person he knew. If she said something was unusual, it probably was. "What kind of readings?" he asked. "Energy signatures, very advanced. Much more advanced than anything we have." So-young's fingers moved quickly over her control panel. "Captain, I think we might have found them." Taemin felt his heart beat faster. For 3 years, humanity had been traveling through space, looking for signs of other intelligent life. They had found empty planets, dead worlds, and lots of rocks, but no aliens. Some people back on Earth were starting to think humans were alone in the universe. "Are you sure?" Taemin asked. "The energy patterns are definitely artificial, and they're getting stronger. Whatever is making them is coming this way." So-young looked up from her screen. "Captain, they're moving very fast, much faster than we can." Commander Yoon Ji-woo, who had been quiet until now, spoke up. "Captain, should we prepare weapons?" Taemin thought about this. The Soul's Pride had weapons, but they were simple compared to what other human ships carried. Mostly old-style missiles and some energy cannons that worked half the time. If these aliens had technology as advanced as So-young suggested, fighting them would be stupid. No weapons yet, Taemin decided. But keep them ready. Do-hyun, how are our engines? Engineer Kim Do-hyun looked up from his repair work. His hands were covered in grease and his uniform was dirty. "Not good, Captain. We can run, but not very fast, and not for very long." "Wonderful," Taemin muttered. He had been captain of the Soul's Pride for 5 years. The ship was old when he got it, and it had not gotten any younger. But it was his ship and his crew, and he would protect them. "Captain!" So-young's voice was excited and scared at the same time. "They're here!" On the main screen, space seemed to tear open. Light poured out of the tear, bright and strange. Then ships came through. Lots of ships. Taemin had never seen anything like them. The alien ships were huge and smooth, with no visible weapons or engines. They moved like they were swimming through water instead of flying through space. Their hulls were dark metal that seemed to absorb light. "How many?" Taemin asked. 15 large ships, maybe 30 smaller ones," Ji-woo reported. "Captain, their energy readings are off the charts. One of their small ships has more power than our entire vessel." Taemin nodded. He had expected this. Humanity had only been in space for a few decades. Any alien species they met would probably be much more advanced. "Are they scanning us?" he asked. "Yes, Captain. Very detailed scans. They're learning everything about our ship." So-young paused. "Captain, I think they're also scanning our crew. They know how many people are on board, what we're made of, probably even what we had for breakfast." "Communications," Taemin ordered. "Open a channel to the alien ships." "Channel open, Captain." Taemin stood up and straightened his uniform. First contact with an alien species. This was the most important moment in human history. And it was. Happening on his old, broken-down ship in the middle of nowhere. "This is Captain Lee Taemin of the human vessel Soul's Pride. We come in peace." We seek only knowledge and friendship with other intelligent species. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the main screen changed. An alien face appeared. Tae-min tried not to show his surprise. The alien looked almost human, but not quite. Its skin was pale blue-gray, and it had 4 eyes instead of 2. Its mouth was wider than a human mouth, with teeth that looked very sharp. When it spoke, its voice was deep and rumbling. I am Admiral Mordak of the HFY Empire. You are in territory controlled by the Empire. State your purpose here. We are explorers, Tae-min replied. We mean no harm to you or your empire. We didn't know this was your territory. Admiral Mordak's 4 eyes studied Tae-min carefully. You are a new species. We have not seen your kind before. Your technology is very primitive. Tae-min felt his face get hot, but he kept his voice calm. Yes, we are new to space travel. We have much to learn. Indeed you do. The alien's voice sounded amused, but not in a friendly way. Your ship is barely functional. Your weapons are chemical-based projectiles. Your life support systems are inefficient and unreliable. So-young stepped forward. Admiral Mordak, we may be primitive compared to your people, but we are intelligent. We learn quickly. We could share knowledge with each other. The alien's 4 eyes turned to look at So-young. For a moment, something changed in its expression. It looked almost sad. You misunderstand your situation, Admiral Mordak said. The HFY Empire has existed for thousands of your years. We have encountered many species. Most of them we had to destroy because they were dangerous. A few we allowed to join the Empire as servants. Tae-min felt cold. And what happens to us? That remains to be decided. You are clearly not dangerous. Your entire species could not threaten a single one of our ships, but you are also not ready to join civilized society. We could learn, So-young said quickly. Give us a chance to prove ourselves. Admiral Mordak was quiet for a long time. Finally, he spoke again. I will contact the High Regent. She will decide your fate. The screen went dark. Tae-min sat down heavily in his captain's chair. Well, that could have gone better. At least they didn't shoot us immediately, Ji-woo said. That has to count for something. Do-hyun wiped his hands on a dirty cloth. Captain, while you were talking, I was monitoring their ships. Their technology is incredible. Their engines don't even make sense according to our physics. How much more advanced are they? Tae-min asked. Captain, Do-hyun said slowly, comparing their technology to ours is like comparing a nuclear reactor to a campfire. So-young was still studying her sensors. Captain, more ships are arriving, much bigger ones. The main screen lit up again, but this time it showed a different alien. This one was clearly female, with the same blue-gray skin and 4 eyes, but her features were more delicate. She wore elaborate robes that seemed to glow with their own light. I am High Regent Vexathara, ruler of the HFY Empire. I have been informed of your species' first contact with our forces. Tae-min stood up again. High Regent, we are honored to meet you. We hope this can be the beginning of friendship between our peoples. Friendship? The High Regent's voice was not unkind, but it was not warm either. Captain Tae-min, your species is barely capable of traveling between stars. You live short lives, fight wars over resources that we could create in moments, and struggle with diseases that we eliminated millennia ago. We may be young as a species, Tae-min said, but we have potential. We've come far in a short time. High Regent Vexithara tilted her head. Perhaps Admiral Mordak recommended that we eliminate your species as a potential future threat. Your kind has shown aggressive tendencies in your brief history. Taemin's mouth went dry. High Regent, please. We've come in peace. We're not a threat to anyone. No, she agreed. You are not. Your entire civilization could not harm even one of our colony worlds. She paused. But Admiral Mordak's proposal troubles me. The Kethvar Empire is built on principles of order and mercy. We do not destroy species simply because they might someday become dangerous. So Young stepped forward again. High Regent, we ask only for a chance. Let us prove that humanity can be peaceful. We want to learn, to grow, to become better than we are. The High Regent studied So Young with her 4 eyes. Your passion is touching. Very well. The Kethvar Empire will show mercy to humanity. Taemin felt relief flood through him. Thank you, High Regent. You won't regret this decision. I have decided to establish a protected zone around your star systems, the High Regent continued. No Kethvar ships will enter human space without permission. You will be safe to develop at your own pace. That's very generous, Taemin said. It is mercy, the High Regent replied. Nothing more, nothing less. You are like children playing with dangerous tools. It would be wrong to punish you for not knowing better. The comparison stung, but Taemin kept his anger to himself. These aliens could destroy humanity easily. Pride was a luxury he could not afford. We understand, High Regent. We're grateful for your protection. See that you remain worthy of it, she said. The Empire will send research vessels to study your species from time to time. You will cooperate with these studies. Of course. The High Regent nodded. Then it is settled. You may return to your home, Captain Taemin. Tell your people that the Kethvar Empire has shown them mercy today. The screen went dark again. Around them, the massive alien fleet began to move away. Within minutes, they were gone, leaving only empty space. Taemin sat down and rubbed his face with his hands. Set course for Earth, he ordered. Captain, So Young said quietly, do you think we made the right choice? We didn't have a choice, Taemin replied. But we're alive, and humanity survives. That's what matters. As the soul's pride limped toward home, none of them knew that they had just set in motion events that would change the galaxy forever. The Kethvar Empire thought they had shown mercy to a primitive species. They had no idea what humanity was truly capable of. 5 years had passed since humanity's first contact with the Kethvar Empire. Captain Lee Tae-min stood on the observation deck of the new space station orbiting Earth. The station was humanity's proudest achievement since meeting the aliens. But even he had to admit it looked crude compared to Kethvar technology. Through the large windows, he could see Earth below. The blue planet looked peaceful, but Taemin knew appearances could be deceiving. Humanity had changed a lot in 5 years. The knowledge that they were not alone in the universe had shocked everyone. Some people were excited about meeting aliens. Others were terrified. Captain Taemin, a voice said behind him. He turned to see Dr. Park So-young walking toward him. She looked older now, with lines around her eyes that had not been there 5 years ago. The stress of being humanity's chief alien expert had aged her. Hello, So-young. Any new reports from the research ships? So-young nodded and handed him a tablet. The Kethvar sent another observation vessel last week. They studied our colony on Mars for 3 days, then left without making contact. Taemin read the report. It was similar to dozens of others he had seen. The Kethvar would arrive, scan everything, take detailed recordings, and leave. They never spoke to humans during these visits. It was like being studied by scientists who thought you were too dumb to understand what they were doing. "Have they published anything new about us?" Taemin asked. "Actually, yes. That's why I wanted to talk to you." So Young looked worried. Scholar Zenitha just released a major study about human civilization. It's been translated into our language and distributed across the Empire. Taemin felt his stomach drop. "What does it say?" "Nothing good. Here, let me read you some parts." So, Young took out another tablet and scrolled through it. She describes humans as a tragically limited species with enormous potential that will likely never be realized due to their inherent biological and cultural constraints. "Tragically limited?" Taemin repeated. "It gets worse. She says we are pitifully short-lived creatures who waste most of their brief existence fighting over resources that any civilized species could produce in abundance. She calls our wars the desperate struggles of a species too primitive to understand cooperation." Taemin walked over to a chair and sat down. He had expected the aliens to think poorly of humanity, but hearing it spelled out like this was still painful. "There's more," So Young continued. "She writes about our diseases, our aging, our need for sleep. She makes it sound like we're suffering constantly and don't even know it." What's the reaction been in the Empire? That's the really disturbing part. The report has become incredibly popular. Apparently, many Kethvar citizens are now fascinated by humanity. But not in a good way. So Young sat down across from him. "They see us as tragic figures, like pets that are trying very hard, but will never be smart enough to succeed." Taemin rubbed his forehead. "They pity us." "Yes. And that pity is being used to justify increased observation. Scholar Zenitha recommends more frequent studies of human development. She wants to document our inevitable decline before we destroy ourselves." "She thinks we're going to destroy ourselves?" "She thinks it's almost certain. According to her analysis, all species with our level of aggression and our technological limitations eventually wipe themselves out. She wants to study us so future species can learn from our mistakes." Taemin stood up and walked back to the window. Below, Earth continued its ancient rotation, unaware that aliens across the galaxy now saw it as a doomed world. "Where are Commander Ji-woo and Engineer Do-hyun?" he asked. "Ji-woo is in the military section working on defense plans. Do-hyun is in the engineering labs. Get them. We need to talk." An hour later, the four of them sat around a table in a secure conference room. Commander Yoon Ji-woo looked as serious as always. Her black hair was shorter now, cut in a military style. Engineer Kim Do-hyun looked tired but alert. His clothes were still covered in grease stains. Some things never changed. "I've read the alien report," Ji-woo said immediately. "Captain, we need to start preparing for the worst." "What do you mean?" Taemin asked. "Think about it. 5 years ago, they saw us as potentially dangerous. That's why they almost destroyed us. Now they see us as pathetic and doomed. What happens when their pity runs out?" Do-hyun leaned forward. "Ji-woo is right. I've been studying the debris from their research ships. Their technology is advancing faster than ever, but more importantly, I think they're studying our weaknesses." "What kind of weaknesses?" So Young asked. "Everything. Our life support systems, our weapons, our communication networks. They're not just observing us for scientific curiosity, they're gathering intelligence." Taemin felt cold. You think they're planning to invade? Not invade, Jiwoo said. Something worse. I think they're planning to save us. Save us? Captain, what do you do with a pet that's sick? You take it to a doctor. What do you do with a child that's making bad choices? You step in and make the choices for them. Jiwoo's voice was grim. I think the Kethvar are planning to take control of humanity for our own good. So Young looked shocked. That's just speculation. Is it? Do-hyun pulled out his own tablet. I've been tracking their observation patterns. They're not random. They're systematic. They study our military bases, our government buildings, our communication centers. They're mapping our entire civilization. But they promised to leave us alone, So Young protested. They promised to show us mercy, Taemin corrected. But their definition of mercy might be different from ours. Jiwoo nodded. If they truly believe we're doomed to destroy ourselves, then taking control of us would be merciful. They'd be saving us from our own stupidity. The room was quiet for a long moment. Finally, Taemin spoke. What do you recommend? We prepare, Jiwoo said simply. We act like grateful primitives in public, but we get ready for the day when their mercy becomes something else. Prepare how? So Young asked. Their technology is thousands of years ahead of ours. Do-hyun smiled for the first time since he had entered the room. Actually, it might not be as bad as we think. What do you mean? I've been studying their technology for 5 years now. Yes, it's incredibly advanced. But it's also predictable. They've had the same basic designs for centuries. They don't innovate anymore. So we do. Captain, in the past 5 years, human technology has advanced faster than it did in the previous 50 years. We're motivated now. We know there are other species out there, and we know we need to catch up. Taemin leaned forward. What kind of advances? Better engines, stronger weapons, improved life support systems. Most importantly, we're learning to think differently. The Kethvar solve problems the same way they've always solved them. We solve problems in ways they've never seen before. Can you give me an example? Do-hyun grinned. Their ships are powered by contained antimatter reactions. Very clean, very efficient, very predictable. Our ships are powered by fusion reactors that we've modified in ways no sane engineer would try. They're messier, less efficient, but they're also unpredictable. And unpredictable can be an advantage. Jiwoo was nodding. Do-hyun is right. I've been working with our military engineers. We're developing weapons and tactics that no civilized species would use, because we're not civilized by their standards. What kind of weapons? So Young asked. Dirty ones, Jiwoo replied. Nuclear mines that can be disguised as asteroids. Computer viruses that attack ship systems. Kinetic weapons that use raw momentum instead of energy. Things that work, because they're too crude for advanced species to expect. Taemin thought about this. So we pretend to be the same primitive species they think we are, while secretly developing our own advantages. Exactly, Do-hyun said. Let them keep thinking we're pathetic. Meanwhile, we get stronger. But what if we're wrong? So Young asked. What if they really do just want to study us and leave us alone? Then we'll have better technology and a stronger military for no reason, Jiwoo said. I can live with that. Taemin stood up. All right, we proceed carefully. Do-hyun, continue your research, but keep it secret. Jiwoo, develop your defense plans, but don't let anyone outside this room know about them. So Young, keep monitoring Kethvar communications and publications. What about you, Captain? So Young asked. I'm going to keep playing the role of the grateful primitive. If the Kethvar want to see us as children who need their protection, then that's what I'll give them. As they left the conference room, Taemin looked out another window at the stars. Somewhere out there, aliens were reading reports about humanity's tragic limitations. They felt sorry for the short-lived humans who would probably destroy themselves before they could achieve anything meaningful. Let them feel sorry, Taemin thought. Pity made people careless, and careless enemies were the easiest kind to defeat. He just hoped that when the time came, humanity would be ready to show the Kethvar what humans were really capable of. The aliens thought they understood mercy. Soon, they might learn what it actually meant. But first, humanity had to survive long enough to teach them. And that meant playing a very dangerous game of pretending to be exactly what their enemies expected them to be, while becoming something completely different underneath. The game had already begun. The Kethvar just didn't know it yet. Dr. Park So-young sat in the dark communication room, listening to signals from deep space. 8 years had passed since first contact, and she had become humanity's expert at intercepting alien communications. The Kethvar thought their signals were too advanced for humans to understand. They were wrong. The translation software on her computer finished processing the latest transmission. So-young read it once, then read it again. Her hand started shaking. She grabbed her communicator and called Captain Tae-min. "Captain, I need you in the communication center immediately. Bring Ji-woo and Do-hyun." "What's wrong?" Tae-min's voice sounded concerned. "Just come, and make sure no one follows you." 20 minutes later, all 4 of them were crowded into the small room. So-young locked the door behind them and activated the security shields that would block any listening devices. "What's so urgent?" Commander Ji-woo asked. So-young took a deep breath. "I intercepted a high-priority communication between High Regent, Vexthara, and the Kethvar Imperial Council. It's about us." "What did it say?" Tae-min asked. "They're planning something called the Benevolent Integration Protocol." So-young's voice was tight with anger. "They're going to save us from ourselves." Engineer Do-hyun frowned. "What does that mean?" "It means they're going to take over." So-young pulled up the translation on her screen. "Listen to this. High Regent Vexithara says, the human species has shown remarkable resilience, but their fundamental limitations make extinction inevitable. Their wars grow more destructive, their resources more scarce, their social systems more unstable. We cannot stand by and watch an entire species destroy itself through ignorance." Ji-woo's face darkened. "They think we're going to kill ourselves." "It gets worse. The plan is to gradually introduce Kethvar technology and advisors into human society. They'll start by offering to help with our energy problems and diseases. Then they'll move into government and military affairs." "That doesn't sound so bad," Do-hyun said slowly. "Doesn't it?" So-young scrolled down the document. Phase 3 involves cultural adjustment to help humans overcome their primitive social structures. Phase 4 is biological enhancement to extend human lifespans and improve mental capacity. Tae-min felt sick. They want to change us into them. Not exactly. They want to change us into something that can serve them. According to this document, humans will become a client species within the Empire. We'll keep our basic appearance, but our culture, our technology, our entire way of thinking will be replaced with theirs. "And they think this is mercy?" Ji-woo asked. "They think it's the ultimate act of compassion," So-young replied. High Regent Vexithara writes, "By saving the humans from their own nature, we preserve what is valuable about them while eliminating what is destructive. Future generations of humans will thank us for this intervention." The room was silent. for a long moment. Finally, Taemin spoke. "When does this start?" "Soon. They're already preparing a fleet of integration ships. The first phase begins in 2 years. Do-hyun stood up and started pacing. 2 years. That's not much time. Time for what? So-young asked. To get ready. Taemin's voice was cold. Ji-woo, what's the status of our defense preparations? Better than the aliens think, but not good enough. Ji-woo pulled out her tablet. We have hidden weapons platforms in 12 star systems. Our fleet has grown to over 300 ships. But, Captain, their integration fleet will have over 1,000 vessels. What about our technological development? Taemin asked Do-hyun. That's where things get interesting. Do-hyun stopped pacing and smiled grimly. Captain, we're not the same species we were 8 years ago. What do you mean? I mean, we've been learning from every piece of HFY technology we could get our hands on. Their research ships leave behind debris. Their observation posts sometimes malfunction and crash. Over 8 years, we've collected enough material to reverse engineer most of their basic systems. So Young looked surprised. I didn't know that. It was classified. But, Captain, we're ready to share it now. Do-hyun sat back down. We have functional energy shields. Our new ships can match HFY speed. Our weapons are actually more powerful than theirs in some ways. More powerful how? Remember what I said about being unpredictable? HFY weapons are designed to be clean and efficient. They disable enemy ships without causing unnecessary damage. Our weapons are designed to destroy things completely. Ji-woo nodded. Do-hyun is right. We've been developing weapons that no civilized species would build. Nuclear warheads that can crack planets. Computer viruses that can turn enemy ships against each other. Biological weapons that target specific alien genetic markers. That sounds terrible, So-young said. It is terrible, Taemin agreed. But if they're planning to erase our entire culture and replace it with theirs, then maybe terrible is what we need. Do-hyun pulled up a holographic display showing ship designs. Captain, there's something else. We haven't just been copying their technology. We've been improving it. How? The HFY have been using the same basic designs for thousands of years. They're incredibly advanced, but they're also incredibly conservative. They don't innovate anymore because they think they've already solved every problem. So, we solve problems differently. Their ship engines are perfect for long-distance travel, but they're terrible in combat because they take time to change direction. Our engines are messier and less efficient, but we can change course instantly. So-young was studying the ship designs. These look completely different from HFY vessels. That's the point. Their ships are built for exploration and peaceful contact. Our ships are built for war. Do-hyun highlighted several features. Hidden weapon ports, reinforced armor, decoy systems. Most importantly, our ships can operate without central command. If they destroy our command centers, each ship can fight independently. The HFY can't do that? No. Their ships are designed to work together as a fleet with centralized control. It's more efficient, but it's also a weakness. Destroy the command ship, and the entire fleet becomes confused. Ji-woo was nodding approvingly. Do-hyun has been working with our military planners. We've developed tactics that use our technological advantages. What kind of tactics? Asymmetric warfare. We can't match them ship for ship, but we don't have to. We can hit their supply lines, attack their communication networks, target their command structures. Make them fight the kind of war they're not prepared for. Taemin looked at each of his friends. 8 years ago, they had been explorers who accidentally ran into a superior alien civilization. Now they were planning a war against that same civilization. "Are we sure about this?" he asked. "Maybe we could negotiate, convince them that we don't need their help." "Captain," So Young said gently, "I've been studying their communications for 8 years. They've already decided that we're too primitive to make good decisions for ourselves. They genuinely believe that taking over human civilization is the right thing to do." "She's right," Jiwoo added. "In their minds, we're like children playing with dangerous weapons. They're not going to listen to us any more than you would listen to a 5-year-old who insisted they could drive a car." Do-hyun sat down heavily. "There's something else we need to consider. Even if we win this war, what happens next? The Kethvar Empire includes dozens of alien species. Are we going to fight all of them?" "Maybe we won't have to," Taemin said slowly. "Think about it. The Empire is built on the idea that the Kethvar are superior to everyone else. What happens to that idea if a primitive species like humanity defeats them? The other species might start getting ideas," Jiwoo realized. "Exactly. If we can prove that the Kethvar aren't invincible, we might inspire others to stand up to them." So Young was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "There's something in the intercepted communications that supports that theory. Several client species have been asking questions about the human situation. They're curious about a species that's been allowed to develop independently." "You think they want independence too?" "I think they want to know if it's possible. If we can defeat the Kethvar, we might start a revolution that spreads across the entire empire." Taemin stood up. "Then we fight. Not just for humanity, but for every species that's been forced to serve the empire." "Captain," Do-hyun said, "there's one more thing. We need to keep pretending to be primitive until the very last moment. If the Kethvar realize how much we've advanced, they might change their plans." "What do you suggest?" "We continue the charade. Let them think we're still the same helpless species they met 8 years ago. When their integration fleet arrives, they'll be expecting to deal with primitive humans using chemical weapons and slow ships. Instead, they'll face an enemy they've never imagined," Jiwoo finished. So Young looked worried. "This is a huge risk. If we're wrong about our capabilities, humanity could be wiped out. If we're right about their intentions, humanity will be wiped out anyway," Taemin replied. "At least this way, we go down fighting." He looked around the room at his 3 closest friends. "Are we all agreed?" They nodded, one by one. "Then, let's show the Kethvar what human mercy really looks like, because when this is over, they're going to need it." The next phase of preparation began immediately. Humanity had 2 years to get ready for the most important war in their history. The Kethvar thought they were coming to save a dying species. They had no idea they were walking into a trap. 10 years had passed since first contact, and today the Kethvar integration fleet would arrive at Earth. High Regent Vexithara stood on the bridge of her flagship, the Eternal Compassion, watching the blue planet grow larger on the main screen. "Hi, Regent," Admiral Mordak said from his station. "We are receiving the standard greeting transmission from the human leadership." "Play it," she ordered. Captain Lee Taemin's face appeared on the screen. He looked older now, with gray in his hair and lines on his face. His uniform was the same simple design humans had used for decades. "High Regent Vexithara, welcome to Earth. We are honored by your visit and grateful for the continued protection of the Kethvar Empire." Vexithara smiled. The human captain sounded appropriately respectful. "Captain Taemin, it is good to see you again. We have come to begin the next phase of human-Kethvar relations." We look forward to learning from your wisdom, High Regent. Perfect, Vexathara thought. The humans were still as humble and eager to please as they had been 10 years ago. This integration would proceed smoothly. Admiral Mordak, begin deploying the integration ships. I want monitoring stations established around all major human colonies within the week. Yes, High Regent. The humans will be so grateful when they see what we're bringing them. Vexathara nodded. The integration fleet carried the most advanced medical technology in the Empire. They could eliminate human diseases, extend human lifespans, even improve human intelligence. The primitive species would finally be lifted out of their tragic limitations. High Regent, Scholar Zenetha said, approaching from her research station. I've been monitoring human communications. They seem genuinely excited about our arrival. Of course they are. They know they need our help even if they don't understand how much. What none of the Kethvar knew was that at that very moment, Captain Taman was standing in a completely different location. The transmission they had just received was pre-recorded. The real Captain Taman was 3,000 kilometers away, in a hidden command center built inside an asteroid. Did they buy it? Commander Jiwoo asked. Taman smiled grimly. Completely. They still think we're the same grateful primitives they met 10 years ago. Around them, the command center buzzed with activity. Hundreds of human officers worked at stations monitoring the Kethvar fleet. The technology in the room would have shocked the aliens. Holographic displays showed real-time positions of every ship in the integration fleet. Advanced sensors tracked their energy signatures and weapon systems. Do-hyun, status report, Taman ordered. Engineer Kim Do-hyun looked up from his station. All hidden fleet elements are in position, Captain. We have ships concealed in the asteroid belts of 6 star systems. Our stealth technology is working perfectly. What about our new weapons? Fully operational. The Kethvar ships have no idea what's waiting for them. Dr. Park So-young approached with her latest intelligence report. Captain, I've been monitoring their internal communications. They're planning to start with medical facilities on Earth and Mars. They want to demonstrate their advanced healing technology to convince humans to accept the integration willingly. How thoughtful of them, Jiwoo said sarcastically. There's more. High Regent Vexathara has scheduled a formal ceremony for next week. She plans to announce the integration publicly and expects human leaders to thank her for saving our species. Taemin shook his head. They really believe they're doing us a favor. Captain, Do-hyun said, we've identified their command structure. The Eternal Compassion is their flagship, but they're using distributed command protocols. Even if we destroy it, their other ships can continue the mission. Then we destroy them all. Sir, that's over 1,000 ships. I know. Taman walked over to the main tactical display. But we're not the same species they think we are. Over the past 2 years, humanity had been busy. While the Kethvar prepared their integration fleet, humans had been preparing for war. But not the kind of war the aliens expected. Hidden throughout, human space were weapons platforms that looked like asteroids. Concealed in nebulae were entire fleets of ships using technology the Kethvar had never seen. Most importantly, humanity had learned to fight dirty. Jiwoo, explain our battle plan to everyone. Commander Jiwoo activated the tactical display. It showed the positions of all Kethvar ships, along with hundreds of red dots representing human forces. The aliens think in terms of honorable fleet combat. They'll position their ships in formation and try to overwhelm us with superior numbers and technology. They're expecting us to meet them with our own fleet in open battle. But we're not going to do that, Taemin said. No, we're not. Instead, we're going to hit them everywhere at once. Our stealth ships will attack their supply lines. Our hidden weapons platforms will target their command vessels. Our computer viruses will disrupt their communications. What about their superior technology? Someone asked. Du Hyun smiled. That's where things get interesting. Yes, their ships are more advanced than anything they think we have, but they're not more advanced than what we actually have. He activated another display showing human ship designs. They looked nothing like the crude vessels the Kethvar remembered from 10 years ago. Our new ships use hybrid technology. We've combined their advanced systems with our own innovations. The result is vessels that can match their speed and firepower, but with capabilities they've never seen. For example, our ships can change their energy signatures to mimic Kethvar vessels. We can make their own sensors think we're their ships. Our weapons can penetrate their shields because they're designed to stop energy attacks, not the kinetic projectiles we've developed. So Young added, we've also been studying their psychology for 10 years. We know how they think, how they make decisions, how they react to threats. They know almost nothing about how we really think, because we've been lying to them for 10 years, Jiwoo said with satisfaction. Taemin looked around the command center. Everyone understand the plan? Nods around the room. Good, because in 6 hours we're going to show the Kethvar what happens when you underestimate humanity. Meanwhile, on the Eternal Compassion, High Regent Vexathara was reviewing the integration schedule with her senior staff. The medical facilities will be established first, she explained. Once humans see that, we can cure their diseases and extend their lives. They'll be eager to accept our guidance in other areas. What if some humans resist? Admiral Mordak asked. Resistance is expected from primitive species. We'll be patient with them. Eventually, they'll understand that we're helping them. Scholar Zenitha looked up from her tablet. High Regent, I've been analyzing human cultural patterns. I believe their resistance will be minimal. They're fundamentally a social species that follows strong leadership. Once their leaders accept integration, the rest will follow. Excellent. How long do you estimate for complete integration? Perhaps 20 years for basic cultural adjustment, 50 years for complete technological dependence. After that, they'll be fully integrated into the Empire as a client species. Vexathara smiled. Perfect. The humans will finally be saved from their own limitations. None of them noticed the small device attached to the underside of Scholar Zenitha's tablet. It looked like a routine maintenance component, but it was actually a human listening device. Every word of their conversation was being transmitted back to the hidden command center. Did you hear that? So Young asked Taemin. Every word. They really think this is going to be easy. Captain, Do Hyun said. The integration fleet is moving into final position. They're preparing to begin deployment of their medical stations. All units! This is Captain Taemin. Operation Liberation begins now. Across human space, hidden weapon systems came online. Stealth ships powered up their engines. Computer viruses began infiltrating Kethvar networks. The war that would change. The galaxy was about to begin, but the Kethvar still had no idea what was coming. On the bridge of the Eternal Compassion, High Regent Vexathara watched her ships move toward Earth with confidence. In a few hours, the integration would begin. Humanity would finally be saved from itself. Admiral Mordak, send a message to Captain Taemin. Tell him we're ready to begin the ceremony. Yes, High Regent. What she didn't know was that Captain Taemin was ready too, but not for the ceremony she had planned. All ships, Taemin said into his communicator, remember what we're fighting for. Not just human independence, but the freedom of every species in this galaxy. The Kethvar think they know what mercy means. Let's show them. The largest space Battle in galactic history was about to begin, and for the first time in thousands of years, the Kethvar Empire was about to face an enemy they had completely underestimated. The age of Kethvar dominance was ending. The aliens just didn't know it yet. High Regent Vexithara stood on the bridge of the Eternal Compassion, watching the peaceful blue planet below. In 1 hour, the integration ceremony would begin. Captain Tay Min would formally thank the Kethvar Empire for saving humanity from itself. It would be a historic moment. High Regent, Admiral Mordak reported. All integration ships are in position. Medical stations are ready for deployment. The humans should be very grateful. They will be, Vexithara replied, once they understand what we're offering them. Scholar Zenitha looked up from her research station. High Regent, I'm detecting some unusual energy readings from the human colonies. What kind of readings? I'm not sure. They appear to be coming from asteroids and uninhabited moons. Probably just natural phenomena. Vexithara nodded. Primitive species often misunderstood basic physics. Continue monitoring, but don't let it delay the ceremony. What Scholar Zenitha had detected were the hidden human weapons platforms powering up. Across 6 star systems, concealed bases came online. Ships that had been hiding in asteroid fields and nebulae began moving into attack positions. In the Hidden Command Center, Captain Taiman watched the tactical display. Red dots representing human forces surrounded the blue dots of the Kethvar fleet. 10 years of preparation had led to this moment. All units report ready, Captain, Commander Jiwoo announced. Dr. So-young, are you ready with the broadcast? Ready, Captain. Every communication system in human space will carry your message. Engineer. Do-hyun, weapon status? All systems operational. The Kethvar won't know what hit them. Taemin took a deep breath. Ladies and gentlemen, today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be saved against its will. Begin the operation. The first sign of trouble for the Kethvar came from their communication systems. Admiral Mordak frowned as his displays began showing error messages. What's happening to our networks? He demanded. Unknown, Admiral. Some kind of interference. What they didn't know was that human computer viruses were spreading through their systems. Do-hyun had spent years studying Kethvar technology. He had learned how to turn their advanced networks against them. High Regent, the communications officer called out. We're receiving a transmission from Captain Taemin, but it's not coming from Earth. Put it on screen. Captain Taemin's face appeared, but he looked different. Gone was the humble expression. They remembered. His eyes were hard. His voice was strong. High Regent Vexithara, Admiral Mordak, members of the Kethvar Empire. For 10 years, you have shown us your version of mercy. You called it compassion when you decided our fate without asking us. You called it kindness when you planned to erase our culture and replace it with yours. Vexithara stared at the screen in shock. How is he transmitting from outside our sensor range? Taemin continued. You made one critical mistake. You assumed that mercy and pity were the same thing. They are not. Pity comes from a feeling of superiority. True mercy comes from recognizing the worth of others. This is impossible, Admiral Mordak muttered. The humans don't have the technology for this kind of transmission. Today, we will show you the difference, Taemin said. We will show you what human mercy really looks like. The transmission ended. For a moment, the bridge of the eternal compassion was silent. Then the attacks began. The first human ships appeared without warning. They materialized out of what the Kethvar had thought was empty space, their stealth systems dropping to reveal sleek vessels that looked nothing like the crude ships the aliens remembered. "Battle stations!" Admiral Mordak shouted. "All ships, prepare for combat!" But before the Kethvar could respond, the human ships opened fire. Their weapons were unlike anything the Empire had seen. Instead of clean energy beams, they fired kinetic projectiles that punched through Kethvar shields like they were made of paper. "Impossible!" Scholar Zenitha exclaimed. "Our shield should stop any primitive weapon." Du Hyun's voice came over the communication system. "Your shields are designed to stop energy weapons. These are solid projectiles moving at 90% of light speed. Physics is the same for everyone." 3 Kethvar ships exploded in the first 10 seconds of combat. Their crews didn't even have time to understand what was happening. "Return. Fire!" Admiral Mordak ordered. The Kethvar weapons fired back, but their targeting systems couldn't lock onto the human ships. The vessels were changing their energy signatures constantly, confusing the alien sensors. "Admiral, our weapons can't find targets. Switch to manual targeting." But manual targeting required time, and the human ships weren't giving them any. They moved with impossible agility, striking and disappearing before the Kethvar could respond. High Regent Vexithera watched in horror as her fleet began taking heavy casualties. "How is this possible? The humans are a primitive species." "Captain," Taemin's voice filled the bridge again. "We were primitive 10 years ago, but we learned. We adapted. We became what we needed to become." More human ships appeared, attacking from every direction. The Kethvar fleet, designed for peaceful integration, found itself surrounded by an enemy they had never imagined. "Hi, Regent," Admiral Mordak reported. "We've lost 30 ships already. Our formation is breaking apart. Retreat to defensive positions." But there were no safe positions. Human weapons platforms, disguised as asteroids, opened fire from within the Kethvar formation. Ships that had thought they were safe suddenly found themselves under attack from multiple directions. Dr. So-Young's voice joined the broadcast. "For 8 years, we studied your psychology, your tactics, your weaknesses. You studied us like insects in a laboratory. But insects can bite." The battle was turning into a massacre. Kethvar ships, built for exploration and peaceful contact, were no match for vessels designed specifically for war. The humans fought with a ferocity that shocked the aliens. "This isn't how civilized species fight," Scholar Zenitha protested. Commander Ji Woo's voice answered her. "You're right. Civilized species don't fight like this. But you never let us become civilized, did you? You kept us as pets. Now you're learning what wild animals can do." The eternal compassion shook as human weapons found their mark. High Regent Vexithara stumbled, barely keeping her balance. "Admiral, damage report!" "Hull breaches on decks 7 through 12. Weapon systems at 60%. Shields failing." Around them, the integration fleet was being destroyed. Ships that had carried advanced medical technology and cultural adjustment programs were burning wreckage. "All ships, full retreat," Admiral Mordak ordered. But retreat wasn't possible. Human ships had surrounded the entire fleet. Every escape route was blocked. Captain Taemin's voice returned. "High Regent, I'm going to offer you something you never offered us, a choice." "What choice?" Vexithara demanded. "Surrender now, and your crews will be spared. Continue fighting, and we will destroy every ship in your fleet." "You can't be serious. We came here to help you." "You came here to erase us. There's a difference." Admiral Mordak looked at his tactical display. Over half the integration fleet was already destroyed or disabled. The remaining ships were surrounded and outgunned. "High Regent," he said quietly, "we can't win this battle." Vexathara stared at the screen showing human ships. How had this happened? How had the pathetic species they had pitied become so powerful? Engineer Do Hyun provided the answer. "You want to know how we did it? We used your own arrogance against you. Every time you studied us, we studied you back. Every piece of technology you left behind, we learned from. Every weakness you showed us, we remembered. But your technology was primitive. Our old technology was primitive. Our new technology is better than yours. We didn't just copy what you built. We improved it." More Kethvar ships exploded. The once mighty integration fleet was now scattered. Wreckage. "We surrender!" High Regent Vexathara finally called out. "Please stop the attack!" The human weapons fell silent. The battle was over. Captain Taemin appeared on screen again, but this time his expression was calmer. "High Regent, you and your surviving crews will be taken to secure facilities. You will be treated well, fed properly, and given medical care if needed." "Why?" Vexathara asked. "Why show us mercy after what we planned to do?" "Because that's what mercy actually means. Not the condescending pity you showed us, but genuine compassion for beings who made mistakes," Dr. So Young added. "You thought you were saving us from ourselves, but we didn't need saving. We needed time to grow. You were too impatient to give us that time." "What happens now?" Admiral Mordak asked. "Now you go home," Commander Jiwoo replied. "You tell the Kethvar Empire what happened here. You tell them that humanity is no longer a primitive species to be pitied. You tell them," Captain Taemin continued, "that we offer the Empire the same choice we offered you. Peaceful coexistence between equals, or war against an enemy you don't understand." High Regent Vexathara looked around the ruined bridge of her flagship. In one day, everything had changed. The species they had come to save had instead saved them. "Will you really let us go?" she asked. "We will. But understand this. If the Empire tries to attack us again, the result will be the same. We are not the grateful primitives you remember." As human ships began rescuing survivors from the wreckage, Vexathara realized something important. For the first time in thousands of years, the Kethvar Empire had met a species that was truly their equal, and that species had chosen mercy over revenge. Perhaps, she thought, the humans could teach the Empire something about what mercy really meant.